Done a ton of mock drafts this season going up against the computer. Done a ton of mock drafts going pick by pick. We've done a draft review of our home league, but the only thing we haven't done yet is a money draft on Underdog. All right, so here we go. So unfortunately ended up at the 10th pick. Obviously the first 5 picks are ideal, or really even the first 6, because you know you're going to get a top 5 quarterback and Jamar Chase. But at the 110, we're looking at, either like Mahomes here. So maybe what we'll do is plan on taking one of the position players and then swinging back around, taking like the not Bo Nix. I'm not really a Bo Nix fan. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray tier. Now for our 3rd pick, that will be 34 and 39. So let's take a peek at the quarterbacks that should be available in that range. Lawrence, Stroud, Love, Penix. So what I'll probably plan on doing is maybe get a wide receiver up top and then double dipping on quarterback. Obviously in these Superflex leagues on Underdog, because there's no trades, there's no waivers, they get pushed up even more than your 12-team home league drafts. We did see Bijan go a little bit early, so that's kind of surprising here. So Gibbs, Saquon, Mahomes will be available to my tier. Now, because these are actually in Superflex on Underdog, let me double check here. I think they might do 2 wide receiver builds. That is a big... So typically Underdog is 3 wide receivers. So these are actually 2 wide receiver leagues. So maybe what I should do, I still like CeeDee Lamb here so much. Let's go with the hero. Let's go chalk. For the next pick, we're definitely going to have to lock in a quarterback just because we don't want to be shut out at the position, but it would be a shame to see Justin Jefferson still here and staring me in the face. But I doubt that happens. Actually CMC would be interesting with Saquon, but we're going to need a quarterback because in these drafts, like if you wait, you can get completely shut out and your $25 is down the drain. Oh man, it is looking like Justin Jefferson's going to be available at my pick. Okay, let's remain calm. Everyone remain calm, and let's see what happens. Hopefully Mahomes is here. Actually, I was thinking about him in the first round, but I'm just not a big Bo Nix fan. Baker, I like Baker. I have him ranked 1 spot. Oh, here we go. Oh, look at Ginty go. Okay. Well, Mahomes up top. Mahomes, at least to me, is a little bit more valuable than 1 QB leagues because obviously his role is extremely secure, but he is very steady. I mean, if you look at last season, he was obviously a disappointment fantasy-wise, right? He was a big disappointment in fantasy the last couple seasons. However, he had a very high floor. He had no games under 14 fantasy points, and he is obviously good when he needs to be. So should that defense, not be as dominant and they're not just kind of running over people and stopping them on D, he does have to put the ball in his hands. He's going to be pretty good. And we don't really know what's going to happen with the Rashee Rice suspension. Hopefully, for Mahomes' sake, he is there for the first 4 games. And then we'll see what happens. But it was nice to see Worthy fill in admirably in that role. So long story short, I am pretty happy with this start, just because it is 2 wide receiver format for the Superflex drafts. And I don't really know why they do that because there are more rounds in the Superflex draft. I think they're 20 rounds. Yeah. So Underdog hasn't done one of these in a while. I guess they're just not as popular, but they're also like a money-making machine. Like, look at this. The rake is 11%. Like, come on, they've got us exactly where they want us. I don't know. I'm not sponsored by Underdog. I might be the only person on YouTube that's not sponsored by Underdog. So we are 7 picks away. So let's start to get an idea of who will be available. These 4 or 5 probably gone. Achane worries me with the injury. Obviously, we got news that he's good to go. So I would love to get Drake London here. Drake London is, my number 9 wide receiver. If Mooney does miss any time whatsoever, London's target share could be like 40%. Now, I also love Jared Goff too. So he's an interesting target, but I am crossing my fingers that Drake London is here. I will even queue him up. I know that probably looks a little bit more visually appealing. Now, assuming London is gone, Goff would be the next guy, and then Herbert I have as the next ranked player. Oh yes, we get Drake London. Okay, let's go. This is a good start. All right, so I'm feeling really good about this. Mahomes, Saquon, London. So maybe the play is JJ, but also stacking London with Penix could be a good idea too. We love our stacks because, I can't pass on quarterback here. What am I talking about? Oh, please, Penix be here. It's so funny. These Underdog drafts, they're just a little bit different in terms of how much higher quarterbacks go. So let's take a look at the draft board. So there's actually a few teams with only one quarterback, which is always tempting in the beginning because of the positional value that falls, but they could be shut out. Now, at the same time, the caveat always is when it's Superflex and not 2 QB, you can start a non-quarterback in the Superflex spot. So, that's not something that you want to go into your draft thinking about, but it is something that is possible. So again, this start, I've got the stability of Mahomes up top. No one's projecting him to have a season like he has in the past, but it's not out of the range of outcomes. Wait, his ADP was 9.7 and I got him at pick 15. Wait, what the heck? Is there something wrong with Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. Usually underdog drafters are pretty sharp. Oh, maybe because Taylor Swift and Kelsey got engaged recently. I don't know. I don't really understand that. Maybe people are just kind of bored with him, but whatever. And then I got the stack with Penix in London. Again, Penix is he's a gunslinger, which is pretty cool. I mean, he's going to air it out a ton. He's probably going to throw some interceptions for sure, but he's definitely going to be aggressive. So I guess looking forward to the next pick, 7 picks away. Ward's going to be gone. Tua is going to be gone. Stafford's been falling a ton with the injury. So that might be an interesting idea. Sam Darnold, we know he can have some spike weeks like we saw with Minnesota. However, the wheels can completely fall off in a new season now that he's done with Kevin O'Connell. But I think Ward's the play here. And I don't think he's going to make it back to me because I think other people probably think the same thing. But we've seen some value fall. So I think I might go Ward and then Darnold and then just be done with quarterback. And then, like I said, I only need to start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex, obviously a tight end, but with 20 rounds. Okay, sweet. Oh, nice. Okay, Cam Ward it is. I don't want Breece Hall. I don't want Chuba. I like Kamara, but probably want a second wide receiver. That makes this easier. I'm not super in on Tyreek Hill, to be honest with you. And we know that Godwin's going to miss some serious time. I'm as big of an Ibuka fan as anyone, but there's no doubt that Micah Evans week 1 against Atlanta is going to be ranked very high. So if he goes off for like 110 and 2 touchdowns against the Falcons week 1, are any of us going to be that surprised? And if he stays healthy, and he'll pencil him in for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns once more. So feeling pretty good about my wide receivers, feeling really good about my running back, and feeling decent enough about my quarterbacks. Again, it is tough when you don't have a top 5 pick because you're not going to be getting, one of those upper echelon guys. But in terms of like upper echelon as a player, we definitely know Mahomes is one of those guys. So 7 picks away, it looks like we have a pretty healthy dose of wide receivers here. Pickens, J-Mo, DK, Cortland, DJ Moore, and Calvin Ridley. But I think I just want to do Ridley because of the Cam Ward stack. So unless it's DK, I will go Calvin Ridley. Well, DK's gone anyway, so we have our choice. And I do actually have Devontae Smith over both these guys too. So maybe not J-Mo, because J-Mo, I don't know, J-Mo's better in best ball, actually. And then Rice, Rice will be there next. Let's go J-Mo because I think people are more excited about J-Mo. And I think there's a chance that Devontae Smith falls here. And I think there's a chance that Rashee Rice falls here and then Pickens. So I could go, and then Ibuka here. Okay, I like this a lot. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have gone J-Mo there. Let's see what happens. Rice is so interesting. I would only have him here because Mahomes, but that would give me a stack with Mahomes and then the London stack with Penix. And then because it's only 2 wide receiver, he can get me off to a hot start, or he can get me off to a hot finish if his suspension's only like 4 games. So I like both of these picks too. And God, I love Jackson Dart. Oh my God, I love Jackson Dart. I'm a USC fan, so I was so stoked when he went to SC. All right, so 2 picks away. I could quadruple dip at quarterback. That is interesting. I mean, in theory, Dart's not going to start until later. In theory, Richardson's not going to start until later. I really like Jacoby Myers. I really like Chris Olave. So I haven't ranked Olave higher, but I'll go with Myers. I don't really know what the whole trade request thing was about. Hopefully by the time this comes out, that's resolved and they've extended him. I mean, all he does is put up top 30 seasons for fantasy. He doesn't drop the football. He's a great player. So I think, he's in for another kind of steady 8 a year. He gets an upgrade at the quarterback position. He gets an upgrade at head coach. So it should be another solid season for him. So wow, look at Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Oh my gosh, she's going so high. That's hilarious. This might be where it's Tyler Warren time though too, because I don't want to get left out at tight end with smaller starting rosters, but there's also no guarantee that he's going to be good. But I think he's worth taking a shot because after like the Tucker Craft here and Njoku and Loveland, it's going to get a little bit dicey, in my opinion. All right, so as we swing back around, just give you guys an idea of what the draft board looks like. Again, obviously it's a little bit harder to follow along when we're just kind of going pick by pick down ADP, but just take a second, take a look, see how things are shaking out. Again, 3 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, 2, 2, 3. My apologies. 3, 1. Wow. Team 7. Oh, no, they have 2. Okay, they have Bo Nix and Matt Stafford. I was like, oh my gosh, they only have Matt Stafford. That's my bad. This one has 3. This one has 2. They have Fields and Jordan Love. Interesting. Here's my team with 3. This team has 2. This team has 4. Flacco and Dart. That's interesting because Flacco should start the year. Dart can finish the year, so I don't hate that. Rodgers just doesn't really excite me that much. McCarthy is a rookie, but he has the stack with Justin Jefferson, so that's interesting too. All right, so nobody wants to take Anthony Richardson. Oh my gosh, this is getting hilarious. We talked about him in the last round. I wonder if that's something that we do, but I think with only one running back, what we have to do is we have to take a healthy starter. And healthy in the sense that he's like healthy going into the year. He's not banged up like the rest of the Cowboys, and he is the starter. We stress a lot in fantasy drafts, especially this time of year where it's like, okay, well, that's a moot point now. But sometimes you want to just take the player that you know is going to be starting. We know Mixon is not going to be starting. We know Cam Skadoo is not going to be starting. We know Quinshon Judkins is not going to be starting. Ramondre doesn't interest me. A lot of these guys don't really interest me that much. Tyler Shuck is just like, is he really going to give me that much more production? So Shaheed's an interesting one because he is a little bit better in best ball. However, because it is Daniel Jones, at least to start the year, and we know Josh Downs is dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury. I know Michael Pittman's a little bit boring. I know he doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's shown year over year his ability to just garner targets. So I think that is important. So I think looking down, let's go ahead and start diving into running back, at least with Tank Bigsby. There is a chance that he is, he's not going to be the workhorse, but he is the leading rusher for the Jags in Leon Cohen's new system. So if that does pan out, I think it's worth taking a shot on. And I almost wonder if it's worth taking a shot just on Tootin here too, because we kind of have to look for some lottery picks. I don't like that either, but it's like Ramondre is so boring. Brian Robinson, okay. Obviously CMC's in front of him. Mixon, I feel like he might even fall even further. So I think we will get one of these two guys. And I hope it's Bigsby because Tootin, I might swap and go for like Rashid Shaheed actually. Okay, we got Bigsby. All right, so quick roster review. We know we're starting 2 quarterbacks. We know we're starting 2 running backs. We know we're starting 2 wide receivers. And we know we're starting 1 tight end. So definitely need to hammer the tight end spot a little bit more. Now with the receivers, I'll probably focus some more time with the next few picks on the running back position. I don't love the fact that I have to start Tank Bigsby again, but if he is the starter, that could be interesting. Now we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds left. So that's where we're going to start to want to hit on some potential sleepers, some potential flyers, even if we're at a little bit of a disadvantage or even a decent disadvantage, let's not fool ourselves, having to start Tank Bigsby. The elevation that Saquon gives you is just tough to beat, right? Like I know the popular thing all offseason has been to fade him, but I feel like when we turn on the TV the first couple of weeks, it's going to be like, oh, wait, it's Saquon Barkley. Oh, wait, they have the best offensive line in the league. Oh, wait, this offense runs through him. So that's what gets me excited. And there's a chance we still get Tootin here 9 picks away. I doubt it because, I don't know, the ADP game and gaps between like Tootin and ETN and Bigsby have been so funny all off season. Like they've just been like flip flopping around the whole time based on like any camp report or any touch, and everyone's like, "Oh, I know who's going to be the guy." And no, you don't. You know how I know you don't? Is because Liam Cohen doesn't know who's going to be the guy. The GM doesn't know who's going to be the guy. The guy doesn't know he's going to be the guy. It might be a rotation. Somebody might emerge. Somebody might get traded. Somebody might get hurt. So if you think you know, you don't. And that's why I think taking shots is worth your while. Now, Judkins, we're not going to take a shot on him. Jaden Higgins is a player that I really like as well, but I've taken him in enough of my non-Superflex drafts that I don't really think that makes a lot of sense. B-Rob, I talked about, obviously handcuffs. Spears is hurt right now. So Shuck, no one wants to take Tyler Shuck. But again, I don't know. Am I really that confident that Tyler Shuck's going to outscore any of my starting quarterbacks? Like maybe like if he gets really hot or if he outperforms expectations, but it's not like this was a guy I was excited about in college either. Like it's not like it's Jackson Dart where I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Jackson Dart. Like he's going to be awesome. So I'm just going to stick with my 3 quarterbacks here. Now it looks like we are going to have a chance to get Bashal Tootin. So that makes me pretty happy. All right. So 4 picks away. It is interesting because Najee, he's looking more like he's going to play to start the season. Maybe not week 1. I don't really 100% know, but there are going to be a big pool of running backs. But somebody who interests me this season a decent amount is Brenton Strage, kind of a young second-year tight end. I think he was a second-round pick out of Penn State. Has a decent opportunity in this offense, right? Like we saw under the right circumstances, like Cade Otton get a bunch of targets under Liam Cohen's system. We know, there's 2 alphas at the wide receiver position, but I don't know. I think Strange could be in for a nice target season. So we will pick him here. And, going with 2 young tight ends like this isn't necessarily something that I love. Now, looking at the board, 11 picks away, someone I like late, Cedric Tillman. I've talked about him a ton. Hollywood's interesting because he's been like kind of banged up. I still think he's a good player. I can tie him to Patrick Mahomes. But Pop Douglas in that system, being a slot receiver, he's interesting. Even Shiga Kwankwo is interesting here too. I don't know. Like he's athletic. We always think he's going to be the breakout. And then he doesn't really do much. And then he has one big play. And we're like, oh, Chig is awesome. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay. And then at the running back position, Spears is hurt. Najee I talked about. Algier, kind of more of a handcuff, should get some work. Rachaad White, I've always been more in on Rachaad White than other people, I think. Like I still think he's going to have work in the passing game and he's not really going to lose his role there. I'm not like super in on Bucky media. Will Shipley to protect Saquon Barkley is interesting, but I think he would be there at our next pick. So who I'm hoping for is Tillman. I have him in a ton of leagues. I think he's actually banged up right now a little bit too. Is he? It says he's back at practice. So that's good. Okay, let's see how this plays out. Trey Harris. No, I don't want Trey Harris because they have Keenan Allen. So that doesn't really make sense. And then these tight ends. I actually think, I know Cade Otton hasn't been talked about at all. But with Godwin out and with McMillan out and how much Baker loves to throw, I think he can have some sneaky value this year. So he's probably not going to get drafted in your leagues, but he is someone that's interesting. But we'll go with Pop. I think, like I mentioned, the slot receiver in an improving offense in this system, Drake May, he looks great. So I'm going to put my chips in that basket. And I feel like it's smart to protect Will Shipley. I have kind of a love-hate with handcuffs in best ball, where it's like, if I'm doing a bunch of leagues and I'm like, okay, I'm playing for broke, I'm playing to win, like blah, 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 blah. But there he goes anyway. Okay, good. I don't have to make that pick. So hopefully Saquon just stays healthy all season long. Chris Rodriguez is an interesting one just because Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's getting all the hype. Woody Marks, he's going to be out there, right? Like he's, at the very least, he's going to be catching passes out there. That was a calling card coming out of college. He caught a ton of passes out there. And I thought he looked good as a runner too. I know he kind of gets crapped on as a runner, but to me, he just kind of reminds me of Rachaad White. And it's like, that can have a role, and especially on a team that doesn't have a very good offensive line. They're going to have to manufacture some quick throws as an extension of the run game. So I think he can have some value. So we have how many? 4 picks left at this point? 4 picks left. So we're going to go in on one more tight end for sure. One more. So we're going to do one more of each for sure. And then we'll kind of leave the last to a wild card. All right. So 6 picks away. Maybe we'll take one of these tight ends. I do like Jatavian Sanders this year in his second year, assuming Bryce Young is, he was the real deal last year, assuming that wasn't just smoke and mirrors. Gesicki's one of those guys that's like kind of boring, and I know they traded for Noah Fant. Now it doesn't really matter anymore. But JT Sanders is definitely the target. Jalen Wright, no. Roshan, I don't know. I just like Kyle Monungai more as a prospect than Roshan anyway, so I don't think I want to go in there. Garindo's banged up, but I feel like he might be the handcuff to have anyway in San Francisco. I mean, B-Rob, he's solid. I know Shanahan's saying he's definitely the backup, but I don't know if I really trust Shanahan, and I don't really know if you should trust Shanahan either. So I think we're pretty set at the tight end position. As much as I don't really love that build, if Warren does end up being a top 6 tight end, that's going to be a steal. And I think between Strange and Sanders, teams that are going to have to throw a ton, that's pretty good. So we're good there. So we have 3 picks left, probably 2 running backs and a wide receiver. So looking at these wide receivers, I did take a lot of shots on Jacksonville. Unfortunately, it's not the 2 guys from Jacksonville that I want. So Diami Brown, I don't know, probably not the play there. Elikai Manor is someone that I absolutely love. He was just a stud coming out of Stanford. I think he's going to be on the field a lot, and I can pair him with Cam Ward. So that is a great pick here. Elikai Manor is a fantastic run blocker. He is fantastic. And you know what else he is? He is extremely smart. Shout out Stanford Cardinal. So I think he's going to be on the field a lot. And I think that if you guys watched him in college, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's like really good. And there was even rumblings that he could sneak into like the back half of the first round, early second round in the draft. So I think he's really good. I'm sure you guys have all seen the highlights of the game against Colorado where he just went absolutely ham against Travis Hunter. And I do think the caveat to that, I think Trav was just returning from an injury or something in that game. So I know it kind of gets blown out of proportion a little bit too. But man, that was like the comeback of the year. And they threw everything to Io Manor in that game, and it was pretty fun to watch. So I'm actually pretty excited about him. So I think I'm probably good at the wide receiver position. Again, I've got firepower up top with my top 2 guys. I've got Ibuka is going to get a ton of targets. I've got JMO, who's very boom bust. Jacoby, who's my stabilizer. Pittman's going to get a bunch of targets. Pop in a new system, and then Io Manor, who I really like. So 2 picks left here. Definitely going to be getting a running back. Probably 2. So let's look at these guys. I talked about Kyle Monungai. I know he's hurt right now too, so that's kind of annoying. And then Miles Sanders is like the most boring player ever. But I will say there's a chance week 1 or after week 1, like everyone's waiver wire videos, if Sanders plays well, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Miles Sanders is the guy you want in Dallas. Like he's turning back the clock. Don't forget a couple years ago, he just did all this cool stuff. Sean Tucker is interesting because Sean Tucker is like the most explosive, like 3rd string running back in football. And if Rashad White is banged up at all, that can be an interesting one. Pierce is an interesting one. I already got Woody Marks. So actually, Dameon Pierce, I know Nick Chubb's there. Oh, this is so annoying at this point of the draft. Jarquez Hunter, he's very explosive. No one I really want at wide receiver. I actually like Jalen Noel a lot, but I've taken too much Jalen Noel this year. Malik Washington's an interesting potential waiver wire guy this year because if he just takes over that Jonnu role, people are going to be so angry, and it's going to be so funny to watch. Justice Hill. So Justice Hill, okay, we're going to take Justice Hill. And my spiel on Justice Hill is how many times do we watch Ravens games where they're trailing? Not a lot, right? But when they are, it seems like Justice Hill is out there a ton, and he's catching passes, and we know it's an elite offense. So that's a boring pick. You're probably going to barf, but I actually don't hate it as much. Oh, man, this is tough. Dameon Pierce, year 1, he was good. Year 2 is horrible. Sean Tucker is good, but he's the number 3. But I do have a couple Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's going to be a high-scoring offense. Jarquez Hunter, dude, who knows with Jarquez Hunter? Like, I like him as a prospect, but I don't know. I like Blake Corum as a prospect too. Like, dude, I'm not a scout. Okay. I just watch a lot of college football. So maybe we'll go with Jarquez here. At least with Jarquez versus like Sanders and Pierce, like we know he's explosive and they drafted him to be an explosive playmaker. So I think that's what we'll do here. So quick roster review. We've got Mahomes, Penix, Ward. Again, feel okay about that. Quarterbacks just fly off the boards in these type of leagues on underdog. Have the absolute definition of a hero running back with Saquon. Hopefully Bigsby or Tootin, one of those guys emerges. Marks, again, pass catcher. Justice Hill, great offense, will catch passes when they're trailing. Hunter, an explosive player. And then wide receiver, I feel good with London, Evans, Jamo, Abuka, Myers, Pittman, Pop, Ellick. And then hopefully Warren has a good year. Brenton Strange and Jatavion, a little bit of flyers. So I will just pull up this draft board one more time for you guys to look at and get an idea of how all these teams kind of take shape. So, with the later rounds at quarterback, you're taking the Cousins, Garoppolos, Joe Miltons of the world. Actually, I will say this Thunder X 2000 team, Team 9, taking Jameis Winston in the 20th round is kind of smart because I don't know, what if Russ sucks and what if they're not ready to start Dart and JMO comes in and he just goes absolutely bananas. But again, all these quarterbacks get pushed up so high, just given the format, given the fact there's no waiver wire, there's no trades, and you don't want to be locked out of the position. But this was a new format. Kind of wanted to treat this as like a mock draft as well. Like I said, I know we've done a ton of those. So hopefully this helps you prep for your Superflex drafts, and we'll talk to you in the next one.